Hello there, wonderful humans. Serj here, founder of City as a School. I've been doing some thinking recently on how to streamline the process of launching learning ecosystems. As you know, there's lots of good documentation on how to launch schools, and launching schools is not easy, but there's good documentation in those processes, and we don't quite have those for learning ecosystems just yet. Everyone who's done it has kind of rebuilt everything from the ground up. There might have been some shared learning, but really this dashboard here is a fictional dashboard on how we could consolidate some of those shared services, shared technologies and integrations which have been built, and also trying to capture on the right-hand side here core processes that would allow somebody to take a learning ecosystem from its infancy all the way to a full-fledged, virtuous, growing, self-organizing learning ecosystem. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what's going on here. I won't go too much into detail, but do know that this is coming as a handbook and a dashboard which will allow learning ecosystem leaders and their coalition to help organize to build learning ecosystems. And so what's going on here? There's a list of all the key stakeholders. These are the ones in green are the ones that are most required for the early seeding of the learning ecosystem. The rest are important, but really the ones with the green marker and bolded are super essential for the birth of a learning ecosystem. So we have our learners, we have our learning ecosystem leader. This is really the boots on the ground, the person building out the learning ecosystem. An example of this is the PASS Foundation in Columbus, Ohio. They're an interface between the STEM schools and the employers in the area. So they have Honda, Intel, Facebook, Google, all these awesome companies. And they have built a series of learning opportunities and pathways from the STEM schools to the employers. And so they're the learning ecosystem leader. They're the boots on the ground. This dashboard is for people supporting them to be able to scaffold the process of launching and scaling. There's also innovation ecosystem leaders. So it's great that your learning ecosystem is situated in the context of a broader innovation ecosystem. This is something that was identified by Valerie Hannon in her work with the WISE Qatar report. And it's been consistent with what we're finding. In South Africa, there is a group called Innovation City, and they are a startup accelerator and co-working space, one of the largest in the areas in Cape Town. And they essentially provide this broader context of employers, innovation, change, labor market access, and opportunity. So interestingly, for Cape Town, Innovation City is both the innovation ecosystem leader and the learning ecosystem leader. So that could be the same organization. Then there's employers. Employers are really important because most of the early wins in learning ecosystems and proving that they're worth investing in is on vocational outcomes and career outcomes. So employers are really important to engage early on. Technology vendors, obviously, because there's new tooling that's required for a lot of this stuff. Moodle and Blackboard are okay, but you need new types of ways of hosting content, authoring content, and streamlining content. And then there's the catalyst, which is kind of a special actor in this whole coalition of folks. They're going around unblocking work and building connections between people who didn't previously talk. So that's a little bit of what's going on with stakeholders. Each has their own different goals and incentives, and it's worth tracking all of that. There's some fictional metrics going on here. So you can see the ecosystem health at a high level. That would be a really fun metric. The rest of this dashboard is also fictional, but there is a deep list of new metrics and outcomes for success that we've been working on. And I'd love to share that with you in future videos, but for now I won't get into it. But you could see that kind of health at a high level here. And this would make it really easy for reporting to funders and partners about what's going on. Down here on the left, there's a bunch of shared services. So this isn't complete yet, but you can imagine these kinds of shared services being delivered by partners or other groups in the area. And these are really essential for getting learning ecosystems off the ground. There's things like grant writing and fundraising that could be a shared service amongst many learning ecosystems. There's teacher advisory, teacher training, or this new role, which we're calling the advisor training. And that's basically professional development and trainings for adults. There's shared services for launching a micro school, and we've started to see a lot of these come into the market now. There's marketing support, and there's also maybe even employer partnership support, so building relationships with the employers. There's more, I'd love to hear your suggestions. I'm probably missing something. Then there's technologies and integrations. As you know, there's some awesome folks in this field, and the group of technologies that's emerging is slowly being stitched together. This is an attempt at trying to capture some of those technologies, and there's going to be more that I've missed, obviously. So do let me know in the comments who should be on this list. There's things like badges and wallets, like LearnCard and Badgecraft. There's also City as a School, which is the main marketplace technology. There's also been LRNG and other platforms that have enabled the marketplace type functionality. There's our AI Copilot for career development and for self-directed and project-based learning called ARC. A School do some great stuff with microschool management. Omela do great payments and microschool management. Unruler do some great stuff with learning records and capturing like informal learning. Lightcast is labor market analytics and data to personalize and tailor and make accurate the learning pathways. And then 100 Roads, who do amazing stuff with virtual campuses like GatherTown and these kind of online Pokemon style learning spaces that you might have seen. So there's a bunch of technology, there's a bunch of services which you could access at your fingertips from this dashboard. And then on the right here, there's the actual process of building a learning ecosystem. I won't get into this for time's sake, but there will be a handbook on this coming soon. It's my intention to bring this all together into clear processes. And if anyone's seen the Strategizer handbook for testing business ideas, there are basically 50 or so experiment cards, which somebody who's building a business can run these different experiments and de-risk their business until it starts making revenue and is a serious thing to invest in. And the intention is to build from these high-level sections many different smaller experiments that could be run on a weekly experiment cadence, similar to running sprints at a startup. And I think this is essential for learning ecosystems to really get off the ground, is to get the key stakeholders into this weekly experiment cadence and then start running these different experiments to de-risk their learning ecosystem and build up sequentially evidence that their learning ecosystem is really worth the investment from all the stakeholders, including funders and employers and state officials, all this kind of stuff. So at a very high level, there's the scan. So this is all about looking at the different stakeholders, doing mapping of what their incentives are, who our partners are, who they're not speaking to. There's readiness assessment. So looking at the existing infrastructure in the city and going like, where's that at? Can that support the next stage? Where is it on the levels that we've decided? And that's been some great work by Education Reimagined. So do go check out their readiness assessment. Then there's actually delivering short-term results as a phase. And this has been great in identifying pilot cohorts. This is at-risk cohorts, marginalized cohorts, basically people and groups that the traditional system has failed, and then delivering really amazing results with them to use that to start the snowball of buy-in from your stakeholders. Then there's streamlining learning, which is to take learning offerings from employers, from the community, from learning providers, bringing that into a unified experience for learners to be able to access. And that's starting to bring the technology in, issuing badges, all that kind of stuff. Maybe even launching a home base. A home base is basically a type of co-working space and a safe physical location with trained advisors who can sort of concierge the learners to different offerings and opportunities. Then there's scaling, and that's what it says it does, which is expanding the offerings, bringing on more stakeholders, and also then sharing a employment talent dashboard with your employers so that they can see all the new talent that's coming through the learning ecosystem, and potentially hire them and offer more opportunities. So that's a quick rundown of the dashboard here, and soon this will all be clickable. You'll be able to open the cards. These are going to have more details and diagrams about what to do with this experiment in a sort of standardized format. Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have some cool feedback on what I'm missing. Who should be a shared service? Who should be a technology and integration partner for this kind of stuff? And I hope you've learned a little bit about learning ecosystems and how this is all coming together.